We got one container leveled, and it is as level as it's going to get. And I'll show you a little bit about that. And then the other container we had to stop because I didn't have enough blocks. So I'm going to give you two great tips when you're leveling containers for safety, and to make sure that if you have to stop to get more blocks, you can do so. I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. Let's start first with this container. And you'll notice that it's set a little back on the pad, and the pad is not completely level. It tends to have a little bit more soil upslope, which is fine. We could rake it out. We could have tried to level it, the pad itself. But a lot of that soil, rock upslope, is primarily cars coming on and off this thing, trucks coming on and off the gravel pad. It's not a big deal. So we're up over here, and we are up, was that 10 inches to level out? And we've got 2 blocks, and we're gonna have to do like kind of a pyramid. I don't really know how to explain this, but we need to have twice as much underneath. So the surface area of the rock can hold up a certain amount per square inch, and then the block can hold a certain amount per square inch. And so we're going to have a contact point at the top, so we need to make sure that it's wider at the bottom than at the top. I don't know exactly the technical term for that, but we did have to shim this one with a piece of wood, which is not ideal. But again, remember, these containers, we're going to have a crane out here to lift these babies up and move them where they need to get moved for the building when it comes time for the building. But it could be a year, it could be 2. All depends on how many special reports you guys buy, or monetization, or something else. Because again, this stuff's expensive, and if we're going to build a building on top of it, we want to do it right, because we only want to do it once. So, but you'll see the 2 blocks here, and so it's, again, it's the pyramid format to distribute the weight evenly. And this one, we actually, well, all of them, we compact it, we pack the corners down. So this one we had to add some gravel and then pack it down, so that, again, we made sure we had a solid ground. Because what good is it bitching and moaning to level a container with farm jacks for it to only sink into the gravel? And that, again, is why the gravel is 6 to 8 inches deep. Should be about 8 inches deep. And it's this number 357 on the bottom with number 57 on top of that. And it is solid. We had a 58,000 pound dump truck drive out on top of it, no big deal. But we also were able to dig into the center to get some rock for the corners. Now here's the safety thing I was talking about. We don't have enough solid blocks. I could use this cinder block, but that cinder block's hollow, and it could shift, it could crack, a lot of things could happen. And even if we had the weight vertical on the cinder block, like the cinder block is designed, the cinder block is not guaranteed to be as clean as what we've got over there with those blocks. And the reason we don't want the vertical height, and the reason we do the pyramid format, is so that these containers can't shift left or right. So we staged up a couple blocks. We kind of figured out that we need some 1/4 blocks and some 3/4 block of this solid type of capstone. And so what we're going to do is we took the jacks out. And how do we take the jacks out? Well, again, our safety is to have these blocks offset the corners, so that if the jack falls, the container only falls the amount that we've raised it most recently. So 2 inches at a time. And that way we're safe. So what we're able to do is we blocked it up, tackled it up. See the tackle in the back here. And that's a wide tackle back here because we don't want it to roll. And then, of course, there's tackle on the sides here. So we blocked it up. And then we basically removed the jacks and put them in storage, because, again, I got to buy some more of these cap blocks to do this the right way. We want nice corner stacks like that baby over there, not some gimpy, jinky cinder blocks I found in the woods that may or may not be the right thing to do. Because, again, if this cinder block splits, it could shift, and forever how high the container is, that's how far it could move left, right, front, back, and fall on you and just basically cut your toes off. That's what we're trying to avoid here. But you can see it's raised up quite a bit in the back. Now, these containers are being leveled where they're at, how they came off the truck, because we'd still like to get some of the rust off of them, repaint it. There's special paint to use. We're going to use a special sealant on the top. The container company recommended a sealant. There's some dents we're going to bang out there's some stuff we're going to do with these containers, so we don't have to have them on a perfect foundation. But if we were going to put a frame, a pole barn on top of these containers, and if we were going to add one more container, then we're going to have a crane out here and actual professionals to level this out. So for storage, this is more than fine. And for storage, we're going to be in like Flynn tomorrow, putting stuff in that container over there. But when it's ready time for a building, then we're going to bring out professionals who will probably rake the gravel out to level it out a little bit better. They're going to come in here and probably compact some of it because we'll have a roof over top of it, so we don't have to worry about the drainage and soakage as much. We're going to definitely have gutters on the roof to take the water away from here. We'll probably have the equipment big enough to lift these up. Also make another one of these terraces over on the other side, and then we'll excavate material from the top here to make this a tall level area. Because remember, we still need a holding pen for goats, pigs, chickens, all kinds of stuff. And so we're slow and steady. But again, these containers are rat proof. As long as we close the doors, they're rat proof. And so probably bear proof. So if we load them up with a couple 100 pounds of feed, or other things that the animals might need, we don't have to worry about it getting all eaten up. So we're going to have some building materials in here. I'm just telling you so nobody comes out here and tries to look at them. But again, we're going to have some building materials in here. We're going to have food for the animals. We're going to have the animals' medicines and shots and stuff like that. And then ultimately, we'll have 2 containers to do such. And then when the building comes in, there'll be a 3rd container. I'm not going to cut holes in the containers or anything, but I will insulate the containers and then put where these doors open up, there'll be an actual wall. And I saw some containers like this at the place I got these from. By the way, this is not, they didn't pay me any endorsements. These are who they got the container from. Sonny Merriman, huge Virginia Tech fans. They are absolutely stunning in the amount of value and information that they gave me about what to do with containers. They showed me some of the containers that they had. We're going to actually have it so that we can have these doors, when there's a roof on top of this, have it so some of these doors can be open, and then there'll be an exterior door here and a window so that you can go in, and those will likely be climate controlled with like a 12 volt split unit. And then, because we did the mushrooms and we're into mushrooms, we'll have 3 containers here, and after we're done using them for storage, one of the containers may become, this is kind of a tease, it may become a mushroom lab for shiitake and oyster mushrooms, because we can take the logs straight out of here and take them over into the wooded areas and start get a harvest going. But again, I need to have a clean room out here, so because a lot of the mushroom propagation and things like that need ventilation, and they need climate controlled, and so we're gonna look there. But again, we work in phases. That container is leveled. It is ready to fill up with stuff. It's ready to go. You saw in a previous video I got fences repaired. You saw in a previous video that we got power started. This is coming along. We got to thank the Sustainable Homestead Institute. We got to thank Sonny Merriman for getting these containers out to me. They got a couple other surprises for me coming. They gave me a tour of their facility, which I should probably go and tour it and film it, because it is a pretty interesting and educational experience. But we got one last container, and the safety element, of course, is this container is not level, but it is secured. And so we've got 3 points of contact with the ground, and at least 3 points of contact with the ground, and 2 of those, or 3 of them, the ones on the back, are actually blocks, because you can see that one's slightly off the ground there. And so this container is not going anywhere. We're going to keep the doors closed because you don't want the container to twist, so the doors are going to stay closed. And so all my tools and stuff are over here to get going. But it's exciting. This is going to be phase 1 in the pole barn that's going to come up over top of these containers, and it's going to immediately give us storage. Again, because we're all about increasing utility value. We'll be able to park a vehicle in the middle here if we had to. We'll be able to put some pallets out nearby to put hay on and put a tarp over it. We could put a temporary roof on this if we wanted to, like have pallets against the wall there, put hay on it, and then put just a tarp hanging off the top. And again, we're moving forward. Are you moving forward on your homestead? If you're not, write with your questions. I would be more than happy to answer your questions. I want to see, I kind of have this goal for 100 new homesteads that are at least breaking even or better at a subsistence level, basically providing all their own food. So 100 members of Prosperity Homestead who have their animal, all the food on their property provides at least the food for their family. So meats, vegetables, everything like that. And that would be okay if you can get the rest of your food within 25 miles of your property. So I want you to start building community with other farmers. But 100 individuals or families that have a sustainable and prosperous homestead. To have a prosperous homestead is basically being able to have enough surplus to trade with your neighbors. That's all. That's the basic. And if we can do that for 100 people, I don't care where you're located. We do have subscribers in Africa, India, the United States. There's some in Australia. I'd like to see that. And for those 100 people who are members of the Prosperity Homestead website, I will spend an hour a week with you on the phone. I'll do group coaching calls. I'll do what you need to have a break-even homestead, even if it's from scratch. So if you've been homesteading and struggling, if you've been, watching videos about how to level containers instead of actually just getting containers on site and leveling them. And by the way, the farm jacks are extremely dangerous, and we could talk about that in another video. We didn't have any incidents, but the potential's there. But also, how do you work with local resources? How do you find containers? How do you get things connected? And if you're in my region, we'll hook you up with vendors. We'll show you where the classes are to take the class. We'll get you in the natural building programs, for example. These woods already have everything you need to start a homestead. Let's get you started right now. Let's help you find a piece of land. Let's help you get your first animals on that land, or your first garden on that land, or your first food forest on that land, or whatever you need to be your first to start going to that next level. I want to thank you for watching. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. Ask your questions at www.prosperityhomestead.org. There's no additional charge or anything if you're a member of Prosperity Homestead to have this one-on-one coaching for the first 100 families, and we'll take 12 months at the most. Okay, because if it takes you longer than 12 months to have your homestead up and running, completely self-sufficient, then you're doing something wrong. And we don't want you to do what's wrong. We want you to do what's right. And what's right for your family is to be more food secure, to have better physical security, and to ultimately have a prosperous homestead. Visit www.prosperityhomestead.org to ask your questions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next podcast.